In this episode, I'm talking with Dr. Forrest Sauer, and we're talking about and contrasting the difference between conventional allopathic medicine and natural holistic functional medicine. And there's quite a difference. They're both appropriate at different times and for different reasons, but you've got to understand when and how to use each. We cover a lot of subjects. We talk about autoimmune conditions and nutrition and exercise. We hit a lot, and it's a great episode. Here's a sample of what you'll hear. So if you would, Dr. Forrest, would you explain what functional medicine is? Could you define that for us?
Yeah, functional medicine is fixing the root underlying cause of the problem. What we'll do is we'll make certain and figure out what is causing the problem. It gets back to what kind of stress your body's going under. Is it a emotional stress? Is it a physical stress? Is it chemical stress? Mostly, we'll see it's a combination of all three, actually, or there's two. So we work very heavily with those versions of stress.
Welcome to the Natural Health Matters podcast, where it's all about maximizing your health potential so that you can look and feel your best at any age. I'm your host, David Sandstrom, naturopathic doctor and biblical health coach, and this is episode number 109. Today we have in the show Dr. Forrest Sauer. Dr. Forrest is a chiropractor and the founder of Twin Oaks Health, an alternative medical practice that specializes in helping people manage complex health problems like diabetes, thyroid disease, fatigue, and depression. Dr. Forrest, welcome to Natural Health Matters.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you've got a practice up there in Twin Oaks, and you're helping people with a lot of their chronic conditions. But if you would, just give the Natural Nation a 35,000-foot view of what it is that you do today.
Well, thanks for that intro. I appreciate it. What we do is we work with clients on a one-on-one basis, very high touch, and we teach them how to transform their lifestyles to fix the root underlying cause of the problem. So my doctorate, it's in chiropractic. That really doesn't matter. What we do is we practice functional medicine so that way we can stop masking symptoms.
Yeah.
Because that's oftentimes what I've found in the years of practice is that I'll have a lot of people, they'll be taking vitamins, minerals, they'll be trying to mask symptoms with medications. They know that they probably want a different approach, but they lack the options. They lack the options of a different resource. And that's where we come in, is we go ahead and we coach on lifestyle. What's triggering, if it's an autoimmune condition like Hashimoto's, where the immune system's attacking the thyroid, what is causing that attack? What's causing that trigger? And then we address that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good. You know, when I had my practice, a lot of people would come to me and they'd have a pile of supplements and a pile of meds that they're taking.
You see the suitcase rolling in, you're like, right. Oh, we got some challenges.
Literally.
Yes.
Yeah, literally.
Yes. I've had suitcases in my office. It's like, okay, yeah. And you see those people where they have all those supplements. I don't blame them. They're just desperate to try to find an answer.
Right.
And the challenge is they feel like they're on this vicious cycle. They're clicking on every single ad, like, oh, there's this new supplement found in the Himalayas. This has got to work because look at all these testimonials. And really what it is just they're using the supplement industry just like a big pharma industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's just without a lot of the side effects. And the problem with both of those is we're not fixing what's actually going on. Now, I say all that to say is that I use vitamins, I use minerals in my practice to get faster results. Right. And just simply hits the fast forward button. But we do it after very, very detailed labs. So it's very pinpointed. And if you're taking 30 pills a day, you're just playing a guessing game.
Right. You're just playing a shotgun approach and you're just hoping something's going to work. And not a great approach. So, I'd like to dive a little deeper into this approach, the allopathic medical care versus a functional, holistic practitioner. It's my contention that the emergency rooms here in the U.S. are second to none, and they're very, very useful, but you got to know how to use them. So could you talk to the audience a little bit about when to use allopathic or a medical doctor or a DO and when to stay away from them?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, don't listen to me. I'm just a doctor on the internet. Don't take this as medical advice. Right. So if you feel like it's an emergency, please go in. But here's the thing is our healthcare system is a tool. And what a lot of people are waking up to is the fact that this tool is badly broken. We're in a healthcare crisis. We are stuck in a symptom-based care system. So you go into the doctor, they take some very basic labs, which insurance is only going to test for what they can prescribe a medication for. Like they're not going to look at the underlying root cause of the problem. There's no profit in that. And so if you're looking for, like if you get in a car accident or if you need emergency surgery, we have one of the best healthcare systems in the world. Go check them out. They're going to save your life.
That's right.
When it comes to fatigued, not getting proper amount of sleep, hormonal imbalances, diabetes, autoimmune conditions, the healthcare system is very poorly equipped. In fact, they even say in the Medicare handbook, and all principles, whether you have Blue Cross or Medicare or Medicaid or whatever insurance that you have, it's based off of this one foundational principle, and that is the standard of care for preventative medicine is not medically necessary and therefore not payable. So what are they saying? They're the Medicare in the statutes. It's saying we're not going to pay for enhancing the quality of your life. We're just simply going to extend it. And that's where a lot of people are waking up to the fact, especially in the last 3-4 years, is the fact like, oh my gosh, there's nobody here that's going to save me. There's nobody that is really going to truly educate me on a healthy lifestyle.
Right.
And with my big wake up call to this, it was actually when I was 10 years old. I found my grandma brain dead on the sidewalk. It was after a wedding that my family was at.
Oh,
and
man.
Yeah,
so sorry.
Thanks. I appreciate it, because all I wanted to do in that moment was to go up to her and hold her. Because up to that point, she had spent a lot of time pouring into me and my siblings, and it was very obvious. And I just wanted to tell her thank you. Unfortunately, that was the last time I seen her outside of a casket. And what I took away from that and what I realized is that she left this earth a lot earlier than what she should have. We none of us know when we're going to go, but this was preventative. Yeah. She passed away from a stroke. And maybe you know someone who's passed away from a stroke, but we all know someone who's has left this earth earlier than what they should have. And what that did is that allowed her life to be cut short, so that way she had a purpose that was unfulfilled. I have a faith, and I have this very strong belief that we're all on this earth for a reason, for a purpose. And if we don't have our health under control, if we're just simply trying to get by, we're not truly living our purpose.
Right.
So from that day, I just believe everybody deserves a second chance. Everybody has a mom, a dad, a grandpa, and grandma, and I wish like heck that I could rewind the clock and share with my grandma the information that I get to share with my clients now. Yeah. Because everybody does deserve that second chance.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is about extending lifespan, but it's mostly about quality of life, isn't it? I mean, I think that we should be pursuing all the health that we're capable of achieving. And the tagline for my show is we maximize our health potential when we align our lives more fully with God's natural design for spirit, mind, and body. And when we do that, that encompasses a lot. But when we do that, we set ourselves up to enjoy the kind of vitality and the kind of health and well-being and the relational connectedness and the energy and the mental clarity that God wants for us. One of the Bible verses that speaks to me profoundly over the years is John 10:10. The enemy has come to steal, kill, and destroy, but I have come that they might have life and have it abundantly. And, you're talking about your grandmother, and that's a sad story. My mom is 90 years old. She's in an assisted living facility right now. She has dementia, and she's in a memory care unit. And, she's really missed out. She's alive. She's still here, and I'm grateful for that. But she's missed out on a lot of life over the last decade or so because her health has been failing her. And I just feel like that's really not God's design. I mean, we're all finite, as you said. We all have our day. But I don't want to be suffering from something that's preventable. And I don't want to have to go through a trial, although God can use trials to get our attention sometimes, right? But I don't want to go through a trial. And I don't want to see the natural nation, anybody in this listening audience, go through a trial that God would prefer to spare them from. If we embrace natural principles, we're not guaranteed health, but we sure set ourselves up, make a lot better chance of enjoying vibrant health if we do things the right way. So thoughts on that?
Exactly, and just living the way that we were designed to. And I love that verse because the devil's all about contraction. It's about limiting our options, and how often that we can get stuck in that mindset where that's what God wants from us. My spouse sucks. That must be what God wants for my life. Or my job is hard and stressful. That must be, my part to play in this world. That's the exact opposite of what that verse is all about. It's all about expansion. It's about love. It's about joy. And God does want us to pray. He wants us to be in constant communication with Him. However, He also asks us to participate.
That's right.
To ask.
We have a role
to take
to play.
action. We have a role to play. And so many times I'll see Christians or very well-meaning people, if you have faith or don't have faith, the same sin applies, is the sin of inaction, the sin of procrastination, where I know many Christians, you probably do it too, where all they do is pray and they hope for a better life and they hope for a better tomorrow and they hope for a better life situation, but they never try to change their habits.
Yeah. Right.
And
God
is going to show up when you start changing your habits, when you start changing your actions.
Dr. Forrest, you are speaking my language. There's a guy that he's passed away now. His name was Henry Wright, and he has a ministry called Be in Health, and his book is called A More Excellent Way. And one of the things that he used to teach, is Christians are so busy putting Jesus paint on that we forgot to take the rust off first.
Yes.
and the point is, and I was going through Matthew chapter 5 with the Beatitudes when Jesus was teaching the Sermon on the Mount this morning. And the whole point of the sermon, he sets it up in chapter 5 there in Matthew, is, hey, if you want to experience blessings, which is the root word is happiness, if you want to set yourself up for joy and happiness, you got to do things God's way. You've got to surrender to His love and goodness and have a change of heart. Then, he goes on to talk about, you've heard it said, do not commit adultery. But if a man has looked at a woman with lust in his heart, he's already committed adultery with her. So he's saying, he's taking it from the external and bringing it to the internal and saying, hey, look at guys, it's a matter of the heart. This is what I'm talking about here. It's not about the external behavior. It's about surrendering and setting yourself up to be blessed. We all want the blessings, but there's often those blessings that are promised in the Bible have a condition. There's an if-then statement attached to them, right? If you do this, then that will happen. It's all over the Bible.
Yes, and He's going to show up if you can handle it. He's not going to bless you with things that you can't handle. And you need to prove to Him through your actions, through your life, if you can actually handle those. It's like Spider-Man. What is it? Great powers call for great responsibility. It's something like that. But yeah. So basically, you need to prove that you can handle the blessings that He already has prepared in your life. And quite often, when I see a client, they're in a place where they know they need to make a change, but they're unsure exactly how to make those changes, which I love working with those people because we are in the information age, David. We are the information age. There's so much information out there. Almost all of it is contradictory. And quite frankly, it can be more confusing than helpful for most people. So when we're bringing on a client, it's like, okay, we break it down into, so it's that way it's a system. It's like step 1, step 2, step 3. Let's make this dummy proof. So that way all you need to do is show up with the right attitude, with the right amount of humility, take the action, start changing your mindset, and you're going to be able to start feeling those results. And once you start getting that health back, you start getting that energy back, you start sleeping all the way through the night. You're not waking up with these with hitting the alarm clock 5 times. This is when you can start truly living your purpose. Otherwise, you're just stuck in the prison, which is your body.
Yeah, I love it. Let's go back to what we touched on in the beginning of our conversation, and that is someone who is not feeling well.
Yeah.
They know something's wrong, so they do what most people do. They go to the doctor,
Correct.
and the doctor is looking for, first he has to he's handcuffed, him or her. They're handcuffed with the insurance system. Right. So they can only do what insurance pays for. And then they're looking for disease states. They want to name it, blame it, and tame it. They want to take your collection of symptoms and assign a name to it and call it a disease. And then they blame your symptoms on that disease. And then they try to tame your symptoms with pharmaceuticals. And if the drugs stop working, then it's surgery. And that's their bag of goods. That's really all they've got. So talk to the person who's maybe in the middle of that right now and looking for some answers. So what would you say to that person when they walk into your office?
I think the first thing to realize is that I want to be very careful because I don't want to condemn any doctor or nurse. They got it into the profession normally for the right reason, to help people. But the fact of the matter is when they're going through school and when they get a job, they are very strictly managed. They're all held to a very, very tight schedule. That's why you can only, for maximum amount of time, see a doctor for 15 minutes. And you can only get these labs that, like you said, come back normal. So what does normal actually mean? Well, when labs are taken, your labs are getting compared to 90% of Americans. You're not getting compared to what an actually healthy human being is. You're getting compared to everybody else. So let's walk through this. Do you think that the average American health has gotten better, or has it gotten worse in the past 5 years? It's gotten worse. I mean, everybody, I ask this every time, but everybody's like, it's always gotten worse. Cancer rates are up, diabetes are up, heart attacks are at all-time high, strokes, all that are going up, and you're getting compared to a sicker and sicker human being.
Right. And not only that, I would add to that is who's sending blood work into the lab?
It's
sick
the sick people. Exactly.
Right.
So
that's
you're getting
who
compared to
comparing
90% of the sick people. Yeah, we're talking the same language. And so it's like, no wonder your labs are always coming back within range. And then you leave the doctor's office feeling like you're crazy. Like, is it all in my head? Because you've probably been told that before.
Right.
You just need to get over it, or you just need to deal with it. Or, you know what, you're 45 or you're 65. Just deal with it. This is how life is. I think that's a bunch of BS. I think that's a bunch of crap. You deserve the right to feel healthy, to feel vibrant well into your 80s. That's my 100% belief.
Yeah,
and you
I absolutely believe that.
And you can achieve it. It's just behaving the right way.
You know, a great way to look at this is we've been told that our health is kind of like a flashlight. When you turn it on with fresh batteries, it's nice and bright. It's going to shine bright through your 20s and 30s. But, after 40, well, it's all downhill, right?
It's downhill.
And
hope you enjoyed the ride while it lasted.
Exactly.
Screw that.
And the batteries are getting weaker, and your light bulb is getting dimmer, and slowly it gets dimmer and dimmer over time until finally it goes out. I think our vitality should be thought of more as a candle, where you light it and it burns bright all the way down to the very end, and that thing's super short, and it flickers a couple times, and it goes out. That should be our vitality. That's what we should be shooting for. And I absolutely agree with you that in our 70s and 80s, that should be the best part of our lives, because we've got the wisdom to go along with, our purpose and really being effective at what we do. And unfortunately, that's not the norm. That's not what we see, is it?
Correct. I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Oh, and also here's one other thing is when we're talking about, so why? This is a great question. It's like, if we should feel healthy well into our 70s and 80s, why isn't that the case? And really the answer comes down to stress. There's three different kinds of stress. There's physical, chemical, and emotional kinds of stress. And so if we're talking about physical kinds of stress, let's break these down. Physical stress, that is the aches, the back aches, the arthritis, the daily aches and pains. Like that's physical stress, bumps, bruises, that kind of thing. Well, there's also emotional stress. If you have a notifications turned on your phone, or you're watching the news, or if you pay any attention to our environment, or if you have a stressful work relationship, if your work is very stressful, got tight deadlines, your coworkers are cantankerous, and you have some arguments, or you got a boss that's a tightwad, those are emotional stresses. You got kids, There's emotional stresses. There's also the chemical kind of stress. And these, everybody seems to know about them, but we also take them for granted. And so these chemical kind of stresses are all of the ingredients that are snuck into our food these days.
Mm-hmm.
The next time you buy some food, if it comes in a box, a can, or it comes out of a window, check out the ingredients of the food that you're consuming. Chances are there's an ingredient in there that was actually discovered to be precancerous. Or it's spiking up your glucose, like it's a high fructose corn syrup, or it's an artificial sweetener, it's destroying your gut. All of these chemicals tax your body. They tax your body and they call for payment. That payment comes in the form of disease. And when you're talking about the healthcare system, where they're going to name it, blame it, and tame it. Tame it means that they're just going to simply give you a medication, which is going to mask the symptoms. You're going to feel better. The numbers on the lab are going to look better, but you're going to feel like crap because it comes with side effects and maybe it doesn't change the symptoms at all. And all you're doing is you're kicking the can farther down the road. And this is why one medication will turn into 3, and that'll turn into 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to tame diseases. I want to reverse them.
Yeah. Well, we are so on the same page, Dr. Forrest. My advice for eating, a lot of people ask me, oh, you're a certified nutritional counselor? Yeah. Hey, what's healthy food? Is broccoli healthy or not? Should I eat steak or not? And the answer to that is, look, we all have a biochemical individuality. So there are individual differences. But as a general rule, if you stick by this, you're going to be doing pretty well. Eat food as close to its God-given natural form as possible, which would mean single ingredient foods, right? As you just mentioned, if it comes in a box or a package, and it's a radical statement, a box or a package, it's suspect. That doesn't mean everything that's packaged is bad for you. But you know what? They throw ingredients in there. It's anti-caking agents for the machines. It's texturing agents, coloring agents, but red dye number 40. I know when my kids were in elementary school and they had food coloring, they turned into different kids. They turned into little monsters and they couldn't control it. And I noticed this a few times and I realized, they had some of that junk food. They had some candy or a lollipop or something that had red dye number 40 in it. And it really almost immediately affected their behavior. So yeah, if we want to nourish our bodies the way God intended, we should seek out and eat food the way God provides it. Buy food that spoils and eat it before it does.
If bugs aren't crawling on your food, then you probably shouldn't consume it. We've all seen the image of the McDonald's hamburger that's been looking, the same for years. If insects don't want to eat it, you probably shouldn't either.
Right.
And just to really highlight how foreign this idea, because really what we're talking about is treat food as medicine. Food is thy medicine. Mm-hmm. How foreign this is to the traditional allopathic doctor. I was having a conversation with an oncologist. He's a master surgeon at a hospital. So lots of surgery. He did 36-hour shifts. Absolutely insane. I can't even imagine it. But
wow.
We're having a conversation. And he did a surgery on this kid. He was in his teens. And this kid, he only ate pasta. Like that was it. It was only grains, and he ended up getting in a car accident, so he had to go in for surgery to get some reparative stuff done. Mm-hmm. Now, the sutures that the surgeon was putting into the kid, who was in his teenage years, the skin continued to rip and break, and it was sewing up his gut, so that he had to take part of his intestines out because his body was in such a state of disease that his cells couldn't hold a needle. Now, He did 12 hours later, he did a surgery on another person where they had a healthy diet. They just, similar thing, car accident, sewed him up, no problems. And we're having a conversation later, and he's like, can food really make that big of a difference? Like it puzzled him. It wasn't that aha moment that you and I live with every single day. And if the doctors are thinking this, what do you think they're spoon feeding the rest of the American public? I mean, we should be infuriated at the fact that we have been brainwashed to think that insurance and our healthcare system and what our doctor tells us is biblical, and we need to just simply follow that. And we're just being led into in the exact opposite direction of where we all want to end up.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that doctors only get maybe 1 day worth of nutritional training in 4 years of medical school. That's all they get. I was neighbors with a guy who actually taught at medical school, and he said, Dave, it's true because I know because I taught the course. It was a 3-hour course, and we did it in an afternoon, and that's all we got on nutrition. So if you go to your doctor thinking he's a good source for nutritional advice, he's probably going to be leading you astray.
It's like asking your broke uncle for financial advice.
Well,
just a bad source.
Yeah, absolutely. They're really kind of guessing, and they're going with what they hear on television, from the food industry, not on good science. And doctors, hey, they're smart people. They don't get through medical school without having a brain, but they don't have the time to go through the medical literature and read the published studies for themselves. They just take sound bites. They listen to the drug rep who comes into the office. They assume that they've done the research, so they'll listen to them. And of course, a drug rep is going to be pushing what? Pharmaceuticals. That's what they do. I know doctors will oftentimes tell you, oh, supplements, not worth it. It's just expensive urine. If you are going to supplement, all supplements are the same. Just get the cheapest brand. Well, what industry does that apply to? Does that apply to automobiles? Does that apply to aircraft? Does it apply to pens and pencils, you name it? Give me an industry where that applies. It doesn't. There are differences in nutrition, and there's a lot of good reasons to supplement. Our as you said earlier, our food supply is compromised, and not only that, we live in a very toxic world, and our body needs nutrients to detoxify from these chemicals that we're exposed to. So, we burn up a lot of nutrients because we live in a toxic world. So I think supplementation is a good idea, but it has to be done wisely, right? Taking a suitcase full of supplements on a weekly basis is not a good idea. So
where I like to draw the line with supplements is they're very useful, but if I'm going to make a decision, if I had to make a decision whether to work with someone and change their lifestyle or just simply take supplements and continue living the way that they're living, I would choose change their lifestyle every single time, because that's something that you can stick with and you're going to take it for the rest of your life. You're going to take it with you for the rest of your life. With supplements, it's not, you're not going to be able to pop an unhealthy diet like popping pills.
Right.
So I use supplements, like I said, to make things happen faster, but there's a purpose. There's a system to it. We take labs, so that way we know exactly which buttons that we need to push specifically. And if you're just taking a multivitamin and you're taking a prebiotic or a probiotic and that's it, and you haven't fixed anything else, and you're wondering why you're spinning your wheels and you're spending hundreds of dollars on pills every single month, the reason is because you're playing a guessing game. And I don't fault you for that. You're just doing your due diligence on Google, and Dr. Google is trying to fix you, but
right.
There's a lot better approach.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you would, Dr. Forrest, would you explain what functional medicine is? Could you define that for us?
Yeah, functional medicine is fixing the root underlying cause of the problem. So we work with a lot of autoimmune conditions, whether it be diagnosed or undiagnosed. So maybe you're that person, that red herring who's been bouncing around from doctor to doctor and you really don't know what's going on. Oftentimes there's an autoimmune component or inflammation component to that person. So what we'll do is we'll make certain and figure out what is causing the problem. It gets back to what kind of stress your body's going under. Is it a emotional stress? Is it a physical stress? Is it chemical stress? Mostly, we'll see it's a combination of all three, actually, or there's two. So we work very heavily with those versions of stress, because realize your immune system, with an autoimmune condition, the immune system is attacking the body. Well, it isn't just simply attacking the body for any real random reason. There's a purpose behind it. Right. So we need to find that trigger. And if we work with some clients who are very advanced autoimmune conditions, so they're taking Humira or they're taking some methotrexate or some immunosuppressive drug.
Yeah.
That is, again, just simply masking the symptom. So what is triggering it? Is it something that you're eating? Is it something that you're drinking? Are you heavy and are you loaded with heavy metals? Is it mold? Is it limes? The options are truly endless, which is amazing, but also still frustrating. And that's why we do our due diligence up front. take the proper lab testing, do the proper intake to make certain that all those pillars are knocked down. And that way, when we start making changes with our clients, it's very, very specific and very, very pinpointed.
Yeah, very good. So, in other words, instead of doing the 5-minute drive-by visit with the practitioner, you sit down and you talk with them, and you listen to their story, and you order labs, but you order it in a targeted basis. You're not just doing the shotgun approach with labs either, right? You have a suspicion as to what might be going on, and you want to verify that suspicion with lab work. Is that correct?
Yes, and we do test for almost everything. Like, it's nose to toes, because I don't want to run the risk. By the time we see someone, they've usually been around the horn a couple of times. They've been around the sun many times trying to fix this. I'm not going to take that risk with just simply having this attempt be another speed bump. We're going to figure it out, and so that's the approach that we take is that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And do you work with your clients on nutrition? Do you educate people on nutrition as well?
Yeah, and one thing that we work heavily with nutrition, and we take it from all steps of life. So we have a system that we work with our clients in, a system because it's repeatable. Now, we customize the system for the person based off of what's going on, obviously, but we go ahead, we take detailed labs, and then we do a detox, not this fly-by-night stuff that you see on the internet. That's a 3-day master cleanse. That's garbage. It's going to put more stress on your body. Don't do it. But a detox is going to lay a strong foundation for your gut and your liver and your kidneys and your skin. It's going to lay that foundation for your body, so that way you can start building off of that. That way you're going to escape from that vicious cycle that you're stuck on. So it's labs, detox for that person that's based off of their labs. And we're just teaching them, we're coaching them, we're educating them on all of these pieces as we go through. So it's a 5-pillar approach. Detox, nutrition, what foods to eat, what foods not to eat, what's building their body up, what's tearing their body down. Exercise. You get to earn your way to exercise. We don't just simply throw people on the treadmill, which is a broken way of exercise, but it's 20, 30 minutes, 2-3 times a week, building up lean muscle tissue, balancing out hormones, decreasing stress, making them more resilient. And like I said, you get to earn your way to exercise. We don't just simply start there, because most of our clients, they're exhausted. They're barely making their way through life. So let's get that natural energy back first.
Yeah.
And then we can jump into fitness when your body's ready. And that leads us to hormones. So we talked about labs, talked about detox, nutrition, fitness, hormones. If we just simply jump to hormones, trying to fix your hormones naturally without bioidentical or whatever, if we just try to simply balance out your hormones, again, and we ignore those foundational pillars with the exercise, the nutrition, and the detox, again, we're going to be stuck in that vicious cycle, spinning our wheels. So we need to get those foundational pillars first, then we can focus on hormones. And then we tie the last one is a mentor. So me, my team, I have health and wellness coaches that are awesome. They're excellent. We just help walk our clients through. So that way they're not in this alone. If the past 3 years have showed us anything, that loneliness is not the way to success. Isolation is not going to lead to better, healthier lifestyles. So we have a community.
Amen.
We help coach you, hold you accountable, make certain that you're doing what needs to be done.
Okay, that sounds really great. So I'm assuming you have like a time period. You sign people up for a 90-day program, 6-month program, or how does that work?
Great question. We work with clients from 5 years old all the way up to 90 years old. A lot of different situations in between there. And even though we use this 5-pillar approach that is a system, it does depend upon the individual on what's going on with them.
Yeah. So when someone comes to you, they're not just coming visit by visit. You say, hey, we're in this for the long haul. This is going to take some time. You didn't get to where you are overnight, and therefore you're not going to get out of this hole that you're in overnight. So we're going to work together for the next 6 months. Or is that what you do with people? You kind of sell a time-based program, or how does it work with people?
Yeah, I mean, you're on the right path. Like I said, it's different for everybody. It could be 6 months, could be 4 months, could be 9 months, 2 months, depending upon what's going on. But we do set all the expectations up front. And I used to practice with the, visit by visit version, and I was not getting the results that I wanted with my clients. My clients were frustrated. I was frustrated. I broke away from that model. Stuff just simply, fell through the cracks. Maybe you're stuck in that system right now. That's why we don't do that way anymore. Is I want to make certain that every single piece of the puzzle is put together. Because when I'm taking on a client, we only work with 20 clients per month. I want to make certain that they're going to get the results.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
That's really good. So you mentioned autoimmune, and that's quite common. So what do you believe is the root of an autoimmune condition, or is it just run the gamut? What's your thoughts on that?
With the immune system, great question. And it does get back to the three different kinds of stress that you can experience. So physical, chemical, emotional. I've had clients where they're married, them and their spouse, they do not get along. I'm not a proponent of divorce, but they end up separating. Their symptoms get better because they get rid of the emotional stress.
Yeah.
Okay. So that could be a possibility. I'm not telling everybody to go get a divorce. Don't say that. Okay.
No, I would suggest that a better way is work on your marriage.
The better way is working it. Be grown-ups, go to counseling. I often tell men, be a man, go to counseling, get it figured out, work it out together. And David, I think the real reason why most people don't want to is because of pride and selfishness. But anyways, that's a different podcast.
That's a whole other episode.
It's a whole other episode. But we work very heavily in the chemical stress and the physical stress side. So if they got pain or inflammation, or if they have toxins inside of their body, this is one of the more common versions of stress. We live in an industrial community, a lot of man-made, synthetically hybridized chemicals and foods out there, and that's creating a massive amount of stress inside of the body. That's just creating a whole cascade of problems, whether it be hormonal imbalances or autoimmune conditions.
Yeah.
And realize, if you have someone who is a proponent of having an autoimmune condition, your mom has a thyroid problem, your grandma does, your aunts do, all your sisters do, chances are you are going to get one if you decide to live basically like them.
Right.
So lifestyle, in the term of disease or genetics, genetics load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. So if you never want to fire that gun, if you never want to get autoimmune conditions, live a different lifestyle.
Yeah. That's a great phrase. I'm going to repeat that. Genetics load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger.
That's right.
So we're not victims of a cruel game of genetic roulette. We have influence. We have the ability to make choices and make changes to a lifestyle that can, again, set us up for success. I want to go back just a little bit to the mental emotional component. So, how would you, if you suspect someone's got an emotional issue, how do you go about helping that person identify the toxic thoughts or belief system and go about correcting it? Because I firmly believe that we have a mental emotional connection. There is a mind-body connection that's well documented in medical literature.
Yes.
So, how do you go about helping somebody that way?
If it's something small, David, then we'll work with them. But if it's a fairly advanced case, then we're going to refer them out to the proper people who have more experience in that. And it's if we have someone who is stuck in a victim mindset, let's go ahead and say that we have a client where they have 5 different diagnoses. They've been labeled by the medical system and they're carrying that burden. One of the biggest takeaways that I want all the people listening to this to take away from is you have hope. You are worth fighting for. You do not have to continue living with those labels. You can escape. You can behave your way out of it. Your body can heal itself. It was designed in a beautiful and miraculous way. And that message is simply not expressed anywhere else. You're not going to get it at the doctor's office. You're not going to get it online. You can reverse it. You can live free. You can live with that purpose. And you are desperately worth fighting for. And so I hope everybody takes that into account.
That's excellent. That's really good. That sounds like a good place to wrap up. But I do want to ask you, is there anything that you'd like to mention that we haven't talked about before we wrap things up?
I think we're pretty good. I think, the biggest takeaway that I want to express very clearly to people is that, number one, The healthcare system serves its purpose. If you're looking to it for a vibrant, healthy, God-filled, purpose-filled life, it is the wrong tool to use. There's only one person on this earth that can truly transform your health, and that is yourself. If you're looking for guidance, if you're looking for help, if you're looking for someone to help guide you through those pillars, just simply reach out, give us a call. All of us think that we are self-made men, self-made women, and to reach out is weakness. The exact opposite is true. We're designed to live in a community. I depend on people. People depend on me. That's what makes life beautiful.
Excellent. I love it. That's really good advice. So, Dr. Sauer, if someone is resonating with this message and they'd like to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Great question. You can simply go to our website. You'll be able to see the phone number there, get in contact with one of my team members, and we can start having a conversation. Like I said, we do limit the number of people that we work with to 20 per month because I want to work with people, not numbers. And so we are very careful with the people that we do bring on. But most of the people that I get to have a conversation are a good fit because they recognize they need to make a change.
Yeah.
And they don't want to wait till it's too late.
And your website is twinoakshealth.com.
Correct. Yeah, twinoakshealth.com. Reach out there. That'd be fantastic.
Very good. Dr. Forrest, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a great day, David.
You too. For more, go to the show notes page at davidsandstrom.com/109. There you can find an audio as well as a video version of the podcast. I also put a full transcript for every episode that you can download for free. And I also put links to all the resources that we mentioned, as well as some type of a content upgrade that you can use to go deeper with that subject. If you're enjoying the podcast, I sure would appreciate you telling a friend about it. This information is relatively hard to come by, especially from a faith-based perspective. So if you told a friend about this podcast, tell them you're enjoying it. I'll bet they'll thank you for it. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk with you in 2 weeks. Be blessed.